Good morning and welcome to our Dying to Know Day 2026. This is our third year hosting this event. So for those that I don't know, my name's Kerri-Ann Dooley and I wear a few hats. Today I'm here as a palliative care registered nurse, of which I've been for over 3 decades, and I'm also the founder and managing director of My Care Enterprises, also the state member for Redcliffe, and also co-chair and founder of the Moreton Bay Dementia Alliance. So it's a privilege to host this event in partnership with Cornerstone Funerals. Sam is one of our panellists and I'll introduce him in a little while. But this is our third year hosting this event and it's great to have you join us. We've got an amazing lineup of speakers today. But before we get into it, I would like to ask Kat Hooper, who is also one of our panellists, to come and do an acknowledgement to country. Thank you, Kat.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for the opportunity to do the acknowledgement today. As we gather today on the ancient and the magnificent lands of the Turrbal and the Gubbi Gubbi people, we acknowledge the enduring connection of First Nations people to country, community, culture, spirit, knowledge, systems and kinship. We are all travellers on a shared and unpredictable journey. To be alive is to experience joy and sorrow, hope and uncertainty, beginnings and endings. It is difficult to avoid life's realities of illness, ageing, loss and death. Yet how we accompany one another through these experiences speaks to the very character of our society, our knowledges and our own unique ways of knowing, doing and being. Now, while you're all here on these lands, I want you to be able to be taught the light and the fire that you sit within is so profound. I want to make sure that you take back to the places that you are living, learning and working, that strength is not merely about surviving. Strength is about being heard in this space of grief and loss. Strength is being respected. Strength is having choices. And strength is maintaining identity, individuality, connection and purpose, even in the face of serious illness, loss and death. And that's what makes the work that we do so important. So may we work together to remove barriers, close inequities, work together side by side towards healing and liberation to strengthen our individuals, our families and communities within this space. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Kat. That was just beautiful. And we'll hear more about Kat's work as a First Nations nurse practitioner across Queensland in our panel speaking. So we have a feast for you today. Why are we all here? Who has been to a Dying to Know Day event before? Okay, maybe a third that are here. So Dying to Know Day is in its 13th year and it was started by a very passionate psychologist, also by the name of Kerri. Her name is Dr. Kerri Noonan. Where's John Rosenberg? So John and I have known Kerri for many years, and Kerri was doing her PhD on death literacy and looking at Australian communities and how we need to start the conversation about death, dying, advanced care planning, palliative care and funeral planning. And as a part of her PhD, she started the Groundswell project, which was around having these conversations in cafes. She started death cafes as well. And she came up with the concept of a Dying to Know Day event, which is now, as I said, in its 13th year. It's traditionally on the 8th of August. We're 2 days early, but we're having this during the week as opposed to a Saturday because of people's availability. So it's great to have these conversations right across Australia, and there are many events like this happening right over the country to acknowledge something that happens to us all. And my experience as a registered nurse is that if you have those conversations early and give people the information in the right dose at the right time, that people most often have a better experience of palliative care and death. So that's what today is about. Now, today hasn't just happened. It's happened thanks to the sponsorship of Shaw Plan and also Cornerstone and MyCare Enterprises. And I'm going to invite Kimberly from Shaw Plan to come and say a few words as one of our head sponsors. So thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you, Kerri-Ann. Shaw Plan have been a sponsor from the start of this for 3 years, and it's wonderful to be back here again for their third year and see this growing each year I've been. Shaw Plan Friendly Society. I mean, how many have heard of Shaw Plan before? A few? Great. A lot of people don't hear about us until they go into a funeral home somewhere and start looking at planning how do we pay for our funerals. We are member-owned, so there's no dividends paid to shareholders and things like that. And therefore, we work for the members. So we hold the funds for if people do prepaid or pre-planned funerals. So the bonds, you can set money aside for the funeral, so your family don't have to carry that burden at the time of death. I guess financial things are not the most exciting to talk about, and that interesting sort of, I guess, care side, but it really is. That burden at that time can be really stressful for family. They can be more expensive than families were expecting, and having that money set aside can really give people peace of mind and let them focus on what's actually important at the time too. With the bonds, people can start as low as $50 a month, so they can just sort of put money in savings aside, stop and start that at any time, unlike something like insurance, which we've seen can take advantage of a lot of people financially when they're not sure how these things work. So bonds are very safe in that way, where you can put in as much as you like or as little as you like. And the other benefit as well is that they are an exempt asset for aged care and Centrelink purposes too. So there's some other additional benefits for bonds, but to talk more in detail, come and have a chat to me at the stand today. I'd like to welcome you all. I'm really looking forward to hearing all the guests speak. And thank you again for Sam and Cornerstone Funerals for really making this start to happen. Kerri-Ann, again, thank you. And also for just everyone coming to attend. Please tell everyone you know, and we'll love to see more and more people come to these each year. And we'll look forward to next year as well. All right, welcome.
Thank you, Kimberly, and as she said, feel free to go in the morning tea break and ask individual questions. So how today is going to unfold? We would love it to be a sacred space where no question is off the table. And we invite you to have open hearts and open minds as we talk about topics that can be very emotive and evocative. So as we listen to each of our speakers, I invite you to have an open mind, and if there's questions that arise, we do have, you should have been given as you came in a little card. You feel welcome to write your questions on there. You can have more than one question. But we're going to hear from our panellists, and I'll invite them up one by one, introduce them, they'll speak. And then we're going to take a break for morning tea. So you can mull on what has been said, think about questions you might like to ask the panel. And then during morning tea, have a sandwich, a cuppa, please browse the stalls. And then when we come back, we'll collect your questions. And because if every one of you asked a question, we'd be here till 6 o'clock tonight, we do theme the questions. So last year we found we had very clear kind of 5 or 6 themes, and so we put those questions to the panel. How does that sound? Now, in terms of amenities, there's bathrooms straight out the door to the left there. If you please turn your phones to silent so you're not that person. I will do that too. And I would like to acknowledge each of our stall holders. Thank you for taking the time to be here. And each of them, Cornerstone Funerals, We have Michelle Linton from Advanced Care Planning through Metro North Health. We have Rebecca from Blue Care. Maybe if I say your name, give me a wave. We've also got Kate from Five Good Friends. Thank you, Kate. Jamie Coxall, who's an end-of-life consultant. We have another Kerri from Vitalife Legacy. Thank you, Kerri. Kimberly from Shore Plan. Narelle from Kappa. Thank you, Narelle. And we also have very special guests today, Lauren and Louise from Palliative Care Queensland and Ambulance Wish Queensland. And Louise is going to be one of our panellists. Today we are raising money for Ambulance Wish Queensland, and Louise will share a bit more about what they do. You might have seen on each of the tables a QR code. We're inviting you, if you give a donation, you then go into the draw for some raffle prizes. And each of our store holders have very generously donated a raffle. So you can see there's a QR code. To get your tickets, you do need to show us proof that you've made a donation. I mean, we're very trusting, but we do want to give a contribution to Ambulance Wish Queensland today. And I think that's it. Ambulance Wish, questions, stalls. Now, to start, I am going to invite Michelle Linton up as our first guest speaker. So Michelle has been a registered nurse for 40 years, a career that spanned from paediatrics to geriatrics. She has been passionate about advanced care planning for 11 years, working with patients at Redcliffe Hospital and in the community. Advanced care planning is for everybody. And I believe as soon as you turn 18, you should get an advanced care plan, a how to vote form, and life is hunky-dory. What do you reckon? So now she gets to talk about people from all walks of life and culture, and tells me she's been in this role now for 12 years. So Michelle, welcome. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me here. I do have... Oh, that's me. You've done a nice job with that. Thank you. So, yes, I've been doing this job for 12 years, and every year I still am amazed that I feel like we're still just explaining everything over, because everybody's still learning. And it's important that we try and get advanced care planning and those conversations out so that everybody can be a little bit more comfortable with them. Can I have the next slide, thanks? Alrighty. Dying prohibited. It's our emergency departments are not where you come to die. You come to be resuscitated. You come to be made better. So if you are in a place where you know that you don't want to be resuscitated anymore, if you're in a place where you know that you want to have something less complicated, less painful in your healthcare, then that's where you start to have those conversations. And in the emergency department in crisis is not it. Thanks, Cameron. So, Advanced Health Directive versus Advanced Care Planning. Advanced Care Planning is the overarching title for talking about what it is that you would want as far as health decisions are made. It involves making sure that you pick somebody or people that you trust to make decisions for you, and that then you write your health wishes down for them. We cannot rely on our family and our doctors knowing who we are. So that way then everybody has their own words down, and they have their words in the room. I'm not going to read but from all of them. If I'll let you have a little read of each one, and I'm just going to chat away here because I won't have any time. Sorry? Oh, I've gone a bit low, haven't I? You're right. There we go. And the lectern. Oh my God. Is that better? Oh, good. There we go. I spent time on those. I'm glad you can see them. Alrighty. So the planning is the heart of advanced care planning, and the conversations are also the heart. Thanks, Cameron. Have a quick look at that one. Okay? So we can talk about, we could talk about it with our family in front of the TV sometimes. We might be able to just sit at the dining table. And that's why the death cafes and Dying to Know Day has been developed, so that we can learn that we can talk about these things with our families in very, very social and very comfortable places. We don't have to worry and wait for our doctors to bring it up, or in crisis in the emergency department. Thanks, Cameron. All right, true and false. I will read off this one. You have to be dying to complete your Advance Health Directive. Absolutely not. Let's do it while we're well. Let's do it while we can think clearly about what it is that's important to us, and really think about the personal wishes that we have. Talk about what is our quality of life. Not anybody else's quality of life, ours, because we all have our own individual hopes, dreams, values. Only patients over 65. It's an old person's document. No, as Kerri-Ann said, 18, it should be something we all do. Enduring power of attorney at minimum, nominating somebody that we know we trust to be our guardian, should we be unable to speak for ourselves. All right, if the documents are completed, declining CPR, then I won't be offered any care. I'll just get kicked to the curb when I get to the emergency department. Not at all. CPR is the absolute limit for you, because your heart has actually stopped beating. It is the worst thing that can ever happen to you. Being put on a life support machine, worst thing that can ever happen to you, because your body cannot keep itself alive anymore. But if you come in with things that can be reversed, like a chest infections, anything that will stop your heart from not beating, the doctors are going to continue to do that. They are going to try and keep you alive as long as they can. I'm not sick enough yet. I get that all the time. It's just beautiful. Oh, I don't think I'm sick enough yet, and I'm 95 and I'm just not going to... No, I'll be fine. But you don't have to be sick. You need to just do it when you're well. The directive is very clear that anybody can fill in the directive, because it's very clear of the situations where you make the one and only health decision they ask you for. Do you want to be kept alive in a persistent vegetative state, permanently unconscious, can't live without being on life-sustaining measures, or you're at the terminal phase of your incurable illness or disease? Would you want to be kept alive then? And if not, you tick an appropriate box. If you do, tick that box. If you can't decide, make sure you fill all the other stuff in to make sure you've given enough information to family to be able to decide for you. Alrighty. The doctor will know, and my family will know. No. You make sure you talk to them and you give them something to work with. Thanks, Cameron. So the benefits: your wishes and expectations are discussed, known and easily met by your medical team as well. They don't know you. If you come into hospital, they will not know who you are. And your family will be in crisis. Your family will be overwhelmed, and they're going to be guided by the doctor's decisions and what their offerings are going to be. So they need to have your voice in the room, okay? Reduce the stress and anxiety of loved ones when they're making those decisions on behalf, because it really is a hard decision to make. Improve families and decision makers' satisfaction with the care. So you're not standing back thinking, why are they doing all of this? Why are you torturing my loved one? When you could have had those conversations earlier. So you make sure that you make it clear. Reduce the hospital transfers. If you know what your limitations are going to be and the expectations for care, because you know you don't want to be tortured anymore, then that way then you can look at maybe being more conservatively managed rather than being offered all the high-end stuff. Thanks, Cameron. How to make it? Good news, don't need a lawyer. That's the biggest thing that seems to put people off. I need to do an enduring power of attorney and Advance Health Directive. It's a legal document. I have to go to a lawyer. No, you don't. Okay, come to us in the stalls. We can show you how you can download the documents yourself. We're very lucky in Queensland. We can do it. We can fill it out, read the guide, make sure that you understand what you're doing, talk to anybody that you need to and how to understand the document, and then have your signature witnessed by a JP. Okay. Once that's done, you've had it witnessed, it's done, it's dusted, you can put it in a safe place. Make sure you review it every couple of years, and then if you need to upgrade it, do it. Think about what matters to you, talk it through, choose someone to speak for you, being an enduring power of attorney, or at least if you're going to have a substitute health decision maker, you don't want to appoint them in a formal way, give them your health directive, so at least they can still work for you. Make sure you sign and date it, and see your doctor, see your GP. If you don't, it's not a legal document. It will be a tool of information, but it will not be a legal document. And then share copies. We have now broadened it within the hospital system now that it can go on your electronic record for Queensland Health. It can go onto your My Health record, and your GP should have a copy of it, and you always have. Come and see us too. We do have, we'll show you, we don't have them to give you today, but we do have care alert kits. They get stuck on the fridge, and you can stick all your documents in there for the ambulance in case of an emergency. Thank you. These are our documents. So if you haven't been familiar with them, the green one is the Advanced Health Directive. You've got two different enduring power of attorneys. You've got the short form for if you appoint the same people to make all your decisions, or a long form if you wish to split your decisions between different people. Form A and the B of the Statement of Choices, beautiful document, a lot easier to look at, but isn't legal, but that's okay. If you've got people that you trust to make decisions with you, that's their tool of information for you. The beautiful thing about the Statement of Choices Form B is that family can do it on behalf of their loved one when they've lost capacity to make their own decisions. You cannot do a directive if you don't have capacity. So if you know that you're the carer for somebody who they can still speak for themselves, they can still be part of decision making even, but they don't have the capacity to make those high-end decisions anymore. Do a Form B for them, get the doctor to sign it off. Then you're in a better place when you have to make those decisions for them. Take-home messages, it's voluntary. So you don't have to do the documents, but please at least start having the conversations to start feeling more comfortable about it. There's a range of the forms, so make sure that you know what they are, and so you can pick and choose. You don't have to do them all. Please don't do them all. You'll get yourself completely overwhelmed. Just make sure that you at least do the enduring power of attorney and one of the other care plan documents. Send them to the Office of Advanced Care Planning, or send them to an advanced care planning facilitator at our hospitals here in Metro North. Make sure that they're available. Your GP, get them to upload them onto your My Health record if you haven't opted out. And that way then we can see them. You can travel anywhere in Queensland and your documents are there just in case, even if it's to know who to ring. Okay? Thanks, Cam. A final gentle word. Okay? The Advanced Health Directive isn't about dwelling on the worst. Unfortunately, it's usually introduced when something has happened to us and we're being made to reflect on our health and where our quality of life is and how long we might be around. But it's not that tool. It is there for you to make sure that what you have at end of life is going to be what's important to you and is going to comfort you. So make sure your voice is in the room and that the people who love you aren't left guessing, and that the care you receive reflects the person you've always been, not maybe even the person that you are now, which is very tired and can't speak for yourself. It's who you were, okay? And make sure that your loved ones know about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Extremely practical session, and I would really strongly urge you, if you don't have an advanced care plan, to go and visit Michelle in the morning tea. In 2010, I was the lead project manager on a project called The Long Goodbye, and we were rolling out advanced care planning across Queensland with Anglicare and St Vincent's. And my project officer that worked with me, her name was Julie, we said, we actually can't do this project if we don't have our own affairs in order. How can we teach on this and encourage others So we both made sure we had enduring powers of attorney, advanced care planning. Julie was married, and she came to me the next day and said, well, it's really interesting doing my advanced care plan last night with my husband. I would never have thought some of the things that he put in his ACP that he actually would have wanted. It was a really constructive conversation. 2 months later, I got a call from Julie. Hysterical. She said, Kerri-Ann, my husband collapsed at home last night. My kids found him, had to call the ambulance. He's on life support at Gold Coast Hospital. And she had to enact her 50-year-old husband's advanced care plan. And I still get emotional thinking about it. He had wanted to be an organ donor. She had to make the decision to turn off life support. And she said, Kerri-Ann, I could never have done it unless I knew it was his decision. So I am loving him by enacting his decisions. So turning off life support was what he wanted. He wanted to be an organ donor, but she said, his eyes are mine. I'm keeping them. So our next speaker is Sam Major, who is the director of Cornerstone Funerals. And Sam has been in the funeral industry for over a decade. I've known him all of that time. And Sam is one of the most compassionate, most passionate, most dedicated to community education that works in the funeral industry that I have ever met. And the work that they have done way beyond just funeral planning, but in educating those, particularly in aged care, about honouring life and the importance of legacy beyond just the funeral is extraordinary, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce him now. Thanks, Sam.
Good morning, everyone, and I've got a title slide too. That's cool. So, yeah, we're from Cornerstone Funerals. As Kerri-Ann said, I've been doing this for about 10 years now. It's just over 10 years now. So in 2015, I was newly married, a couple of years in, without work, and my wife saying, you just need to get a job anywhere. And prior to that, I'd been doing youth work, worked in IT for a little bit, and was looking just for something totally different. And my cousin actually was working for a local funeral home, doing photo presentations. And he said, "You look, they're needing someone to just stand outside the chapel and point to a book." And I said, "I can do that. I've got that skill set." So applied for that job, and so I sort of fell into the industry. And then after a while, I realised I actually used to do this as a child. Growing up, my grandfather, Reverend Alan Mayle, AC, used to do weddings and funerals all the time. And as kids, we were roped in to help point at books and hand out the catering and do all of that. So it came naturally to me working in the funeral industry. A couple of months went by, and very quickly got moved into doing the funeral arranging, funeral directing. Got my degree in social media marketing and business management, and quickly rose the ranks there and managed a branch here in Redcliffe. A few years later, had a local businessman who approached me and said, "Look, you know, I'd like to start my own funeral home." So I got headhunted for that role, and Cornerstone Funerals got started here in lovely Redcliffe. So a good friend of mine, Adiel, who owned the Pilpel restaurant, basically opened up his space there for us to be able to host funerals, and we had a number of funerals there before it sadly flooded in, I think it was 2022, with the crazy rain that we had in Redcliffe. And so from there we've progressed, and we're now located in Clontarf, but we've always wanted to be here on the lovely Redcliffe Peninsula. So as Kerri-Ann said, my passion is actually not just funerals, but being able to see people go from, you know, not understanding or having a really serious, really incredible situation where the whole world has been turned upside down, and then seeing the relief on their face when someone who knows the industry, knows what they're doing, and can help guide them through on this incredible journey that they probably weren't expecting or weren't prepared for. And one of the things that we strongly encourage is that, as with advanced care planning, that advanced planning of your funeral service is another way you can help your loved ones. Already, an extremely difficult and challenging time, in a state of grief, the last thing that they want to go through as well is going, well, I have no idea if it was burial. I have no idea if it was cremation. I have no idea about this new version of disposal, is what it's called, but aquamation, where it's a water cremation, is something that's totally new. There's those kind of basic decisions, but it goes further than that, which is, what are you going to do for the actual service? Do you want a big service? Do you want it to be non-attended? Do you want a viewing? Do you want anyone to actually see you when you've passed away, or do you want to keep that private? You would have seen in the foyer, we've got a cardboard coffin out there. A lot of people now wanting cardboard coffins, but not realizing, well, given it's cardboard, you can actually write on it. And so we have families that have these gatherings, and funerals these days don't need to be cookie cutter. They can be completely unique to the person and to the family. And we encourage them to be personalized and to be very distinct, as we are all very personal and distinct. So I encourage everyone, we've got basic tools that we've got in place that allow you to plan your funeral, to plan your farewell. And if you have no idea what your loved one wants, it's a really good idea to put those in place and have them prepared. We encourage beyond that as well, advanced care planning. We encourage estate planning as well, so speaking with a solicitor to help make sure everything is in place for if that could happen at any moment. I've had people say to me as well, Michelle, I've had people say with like, oh, it's not for a long time, I've got plenty of years on me. It can happen to any of us at any time. Today could be my last day, I don't know. So I encourage, and my wife knows my wishes and my plan. I've told her that my ashes are going to be, there's a company in the UK that scatters the ashes up in the atmosphere. They send a weather balloon up, and they do a live stream of it where your ashes are scattered to the four winds, essentially, all over the planet. So there's options out there that are completely unique and different, and I encourage everyone to sort of explore that, but then also discuss it with your loved ones. So when the time comes, they've got a little bit of peace of mind, knowing that they can honour your wishes in an already extremely stressful environment. And lastly, we also, with the cost side of things, the reason we partner with SurePlan is that we like the fact that they've been around for over 85 years now, 90th year. So they've been longer than most of the average lifespan of people that we look after, and they manage the funds and look after them. And the relief on families' faces when they've put in place a plan, a funeral pre-plan, and they've put aside some of the finances as well, just means that time then is better spent with family together, honouring their loved one and having less stress put on them. So we'd encourage you, if you want, during the break, come and see us. We've got some great stall holders here who also can help with memorialisation. Everlight Stories is another one. Rudo is here. She does a fantastic job with collating stories and memories and producing a book for your loved one, or for yourself if you need your memoirs done. She's a fantastic person to talk to. So we encourage you, just get as much information as you can, but then from that also share it. Go out into your network and your community and let them know about all the options that are available, because the more that people know, the more people can be empowered. And yeah, we really encourage you to do that. So thank you.
Rudo, my apologies. I did omit to mention that Rudo from Everlight Stories is also here as one of our stall holders. Our next speaker is Dr. John Rosenberg. Where are you, John? John is a registered nurse and adjunct professor with the University of the Sunshine Coast. John's worked in palliative care for almost 40 years as a clinician, educator and social researcher. His focus is on how networks of friends and neighbours and communities can support those who are dying, caregiving and grieving. It's these networks that profoundly change people's experiences and these key experiences. You've put experiences there twice. You're a wordsmith. Come on, John. Okay, right. And John is a very dear friend of mine. I think I've known you 30 of those 40 years and we've done some wonderful projects together. So it's a joy to have you here. You're finally available. I've asked John every year and this is the first year he's been available. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Kerri-Ann. That's what decades of neglect looks like. I've actually got a little notepad because I don't want to miss the 47 things I've got 7 minutes to tell you in. But I do need a 1 minute kind of wind it up Rosenberg. Yeah. Okay. Look, it's great to be here. I've got a question for you, and I really do want you to yell out an answer. And it's, if you are in the business and you already know the answer, just hold back. And if you are, the general public, I'm the general public too. I'm going to ask you two questions. For the average Australian, in the last year of their life, how many days do you reckon they spend in hospital? Yell out an answer. 13, 30? Yep. I'm like an auctioneer. 2? 25? 50? 10? All right, okay, thank you for answering. It's 17. Okay, so, as averages go, that's, you were there. Okay, second question. What percentage of time for your average Australian at the end of life is spent in the direct care of healthcare services or professionals? What percentage of time in the last year of life? Sorry? 2, 5, 10, 25. Do I hear 25? Do I hear 20? Okay, it's 5. It's 5%. And this creates what we call the 95% rule. If only 5% of the average Australian's time in the last year of their life is spent in the direct care of healthcare professionals and healthcare centres. Sorry? 5, yeah. Who's doing the rest? So we talk a lot in palliative care about families. Well, not everybody has a family, or not all families are willing to provide the support that's required. We talk about the loved one, and I'm not having a go at anybody who uses that term here, but we talk about the loved one, but not all dying people are loved or lovable. Well, maybe they're lovable, but they're not loved necessarily. There are fractures and fragmentations and conflict in families. So the business of dying is not a sort of a, warm, fuzzy, soft focus, white picket fence thing. It's real and it's raw, and it happens in our communities. Yet that's where the support comes from 95% of the time. So what I work with is the Compassionate Communities movement, and I was part of Kerri-Ann's development of the Death Literacy Index, and which is really saying, well, if dying is everybody's business, as we say, and indeed that's one of the phrases that we use in palliative care and in Palliative Care Queensland and Palliative Care Australia, if dying is everybody's business, what does that mean for what we do? What does that mean for how we support one another in our dying, in our caregiving, in our grieving? And it does rely on individuals and families and groups of friends and neighbourhoods, streets and communities to rally round to support people amongst us who are experiencing that last year of life, that last week of life, those days and months and years that follow a bereavement. So the good news is that Australians know how to rally round. Floods, Sam talked about floods, bushfires, I'm from the country, country boy from Victoria, a car accident. When there is a sudden incident or event where there is desperate need for the rallying around of communities, we know how to do that. Because I used to call the Salvation Army was one of the first responders, because you'd get the emergency services and then the Salvos turned up and they had that kind of level of support that was needed in those spaces. We know how to rally round, and we know how to rally round when there are unexpected events where there is need. Imagine if we were equipped to rally around when we know it's coming, when we know that somebody is living with an illness that is life-limiting, that they're nearing the end of their life. Imagine if we were ready for supporting people who were grieving. So these are all things that compassionate communities think about, and this is what death literacy is about, and grief literacy is about, is being equipped to respond to what we know is going to come to us all. So that's the good news. Now, let me just see what else I was going to... So, but it's not random. So the idea of rallying a community together is not random. It requires... I've only just gotten warmed up. I got 1 minute. No, it doesn't count because you were out for 2 minutes. Okay. So really what I want to suggest to you is that this is not new. Kat, your acknowledgement was beautiful, and one of the things I often say is that, you know, we are standing on country that has a long history of caring for those who are dying and those who are mourning. You know, this is not new. So what are the resources that are in the Redcliffe community? You know, you have health services for 5% of the time, but for the 95% of the time, what are the communities that can rally round? Are they the churches? Are they social networks? Are they charities? Are they just groups of friends? How can people rally round to support people who are living and dying and grieving? And I have a whole lot more to say about that, but I'm not allowed. I will in the questions. So whole of community does mean everybody, and it isn't easy, but it is, I think, part of us being human. So I've got a lot more to say about compassionate communities, but I'll stop now. Okay, thank you.
He can talk underwater, so we do have to wrap it up. But within the questions, you may have more liberty and freedom. Our next speaker is the beautiful Kat Hooper, is a proud Wurrumi, Cubby Cubby and Coconut Island descendant. Kat works for the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander leadership team hosted by Metro North Health in a statewide position as a specialist nurse practitioner in palliative care, cancer care, aged care, chronic disease, rural and remote primary health. Kat is also studying her Masters of Research at QUT and focusing on end-of-life social and emotional well-being for First Nations people. Thank you, Kat. It's a joy to have you here. Thank you. Kat was one of our first panellists the first year we hosted this, and the feedback was that you were everybody's favourite. No pressure. So over to you, Kat. Thank you.
Thank you. Geez, got a lot to live up to. How incredible are the speakers so far? And again, thank you so much for those that have made today possible. I wanted to do things a little bit differently today, in true form for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. I'll just have a little bit of a yarn in a storytelling way. The work that I do is very much informed by community, and I work across the state and also nationally with communities, with people, and with practitioners, with workforce. So all of this work is dedicated to all of them. So we use the word sorry business when it comes to grief, and today I'm focusing mainly on grief because this is the work that community have asked us to focus on at the moment, because there is a little bit of a gap in this space. For Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, grief and bereavement is quite significant and quite often occurs. So for sorry business for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, it's cultural, spiritual and communal processes following sad news. It's also about the return of spirit, death, grief and loss, obligations to family, kin and community. It's about ceremonies and protocols, sacred practice that helps the spirit to be guided or to return to country, ancestors or even God. Extended mourning that may last for days, weeks or longer. It's experienced by individuals, families and communities, and it doesn't necessarily always just involve end of life either. It exists with ceremony and ritual, cultural obligations to family, elders and country, and community gatherings, restrictions or beliefs that are unique to each person, family and community, and practical responsibilities such as caring for visitors, preparing the burial, even burial order, or supporting kin and kinship roles. So recently I had the privilege of walking and sitting and being present on Turrbal country and Gubbi Gubbi country with our old people and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander workforce. And I was taken to a part of this country that bends like an old man's arm, weathered, strong, and my eyes were gazing endlessly across the perfection of escarpment. I noticed that it was so clear that these lands were shaped by time, by significant events, perhaps even scars, perhaps moments where the skies had shed tears of sorrow and even of joy. And the elders said to us that when it comes to someone passing, their spirit followed the river that was in front of us all. The spirit was dancing, it was gliding, and it was moving with the current. And it was slipping beneath the reeds until it reached the open Moreton Bay. And from there, if it is time, if it's the right person in the place, then the ancestors may even lift them into the sky world, a world that holds meaning for spirit, for Christianity or religion, and for ancestors. And they further added to the story some significance so sacred I can't share, but what I can share is that some believe that even on clear nights when you see them, those ancestors, those loved ones are shining down on us through the Milky Way. So, this can be grief, loss and bereavement also. These all have the ability, just like a river, to flood our chest, to pull at our breath just like the river. It can change the shape of our days, our purpose, and the ability to maintain flowing forward. The foundations of grief is like the first stirring of the river. Grief begins long before the tears come. It begins in the moment we realise something precious has shifted, an illness that has been diagnosed, a change in health condition, a deterioration, a sudden unexpected event, or an unspoken, unannounced, unwelcomed, yet expected change. A voice that has now gone quiet, a presence missing from the room, a future that suddenly looks different, where the physical becomes faded, missing, sometimes absent. Does it begin in the body, or does it begin in the spirit, or does it begin in the mind? In the body, then sometimes perhaps it's a tightening in the throat, a heaviness in the limbs, a hollowness in the belly, a racing in the heart, a feeling that this moment is not real. Will I awake? And was it all a dream? Some common things I have heard in my practice is so varied. It can also even begin in the spirit. Our old people reflect on the following. There is sometimes an unwillingness to form connections, to detach, to begin to let go, to not join in on things once enjoyed. Those around may feel or anticipate a sense of disconnection, a feeling of being unanchored, as though the world has tilted slightly off its axis and the river is confused and then it becomes variable in its flow. Or maybe we remain connected to all of the cultural determinants because our culture, our ways of being, knowing and doing always remain our strength. Or it could actually begin in the mind. Our old people reflect for us. There will always be so many questions, some unanswered, some known, some will remain unknown. Why are we actually given the ability to hold and to retain memories that sting? Thoughts that circle like birds searching for a place to land. Moments that fill our hearts with glee, with pride, and then the moments that hurt so profoundly. Our old people tell us that these are all essential, they're vital, they're important. They are the first stirring of the river, the moment we realise the journey of grief, loss, bereavement has begun, but also that we have been gifted with life, with love, with setting strong foundations, also with lessons and learnings to give to those yet to come. The stages of feeling, the river's changing depths. The elders went on to teach us that there are non-linear cycles of feeling through grief, loss and bereavement, symbolising the river's changing depths. The riverbed must always change its depth, for it's necessary for it to change its course. This symbolises how the riverbed must always shift beneath you, not because you are failing, but because the terrain is unchanged, has changed, because the river ecosystem and the ecosystem of life is dependent on change, on new beginnings, of the ceasing flow of the old, to make way for prosperity that derives from not remaining stagnant. Now, one story just to share with you as I talk to you. We have stories around hope and resilience, love and isolation, anguish, all of those sorts of things that are experienced at end of life and with the grief process. But one little story, we now put these into little stories, and we have little brochures and things like that we're currently making for resources. And this was a story quickly that the old people shared. Grief is a waterfall, goanna, cicada, and it shapes the many shapes of feeling. Some feel grief like a waterfall, powerful, overwhelming, crashing down all at once. It takes your breath. It knocks you off your feet. It demands your full attention. Others feel it like a slow-moving goanna, steady, heavy, taking its time. It follows you quietly. It sits with you. It moves at pace that cannot be rushed. Some feel it like cicadas, silent for a long while, hidden beneath the surface, then suddenly loud and impossible to ignore. A grief that erupts after months or years of quiet. There is no right way. There is only your way. Thank you.
Apologies about the alarm. I've managed to catch it, but I was so caught up in the moment I wasn't watching my phone. Thank you, Kat. That was so beautiful. And I wish we could linger here all day in those stories. And sometimes we do get the opportunity to do that. Our next speaker is Terry Ailing. Terry is a spiritual entrepreneur, interspiritual care practitioner, and a compassion advocate. His roles include as a spiritual care coordinator for Palliative Care Queensland, Gold Coast Health and Hopewell Hospice. These experiences has given him a depth in compassionate care at the end of life. He currently serves as a spiritual care practitioner at St Vincent's Aged Care Services. Terry's also the lead of the Charter for Compassion in Australia, facilitator of Compassionate Gold Coast, and an advisory committee of the Compassionate Communities Gold Coast in these roles. He's been instrumental in bringing together the work of the Charter for Compassion, the Global Compassion Coalition, and Compassionate Communities in Australia. So please join me as we welcome Terry. Thank you.
Well, what a privilege it is to be able to share this Dying to Know Day event with you. And I'm confident that you'll experience this as a safe place to be able to ask all the questions you may have dared to ask and receive answers to many of the questions you've been dying to know about dying and death. So what I offer as a long-time spiritual care practitioner, what some people call a pastoral carer or chaplain, a spirited celebrant, a supervisor and a bereavement support person, may seem to be something of a conundrum, because my theme is dying to knowing. Dying to knowing. As human beings, we're relational and meaning-making creatures. Our minds are wired to try and make sense of our experience, and when we have some sense of knowing, we invariably feel calmer and more in control. However, the reality is there is far more about ourselves and others and the world and the way life is unfolding for us that we don't and can't know than we do or can know. And while that's not a reason to stop being curious or to stop asking questions or striving to make sense of our experience, it is a deep truth of this age-limited, mentally bound human existence. How often have you asked the question, why, only to be perplexed by the answers, or more often, the lack of answers? Why is my 91-year-old dad aging so well when my 4-year-old great-nephew is enduring 18 months of chemotherapy for a nasty and aggressive cancer? Why did our first baby die at 37 weeks into the pregnancy? Or my 8-year-old nephew die after a stem cell transplant? Why? 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 However many times we Christian church, we would often say, Jesus is the answer to any question anybody would want to ask. But as I grew older and entered theological college, I think we've lost some sound. Thank you. But as I grew older and entered theological college and become an ordained Uniting Church minister, but more importantly, experienced the harsh reality of life, of not knowing, those trite, mindless, faithless responses were no longer authentic to me or satisfying to others. After a lifetime of curiosity and doubt, questioning and study, and sane reflection on my lived experience, I've arrived at the point, at least in explaining to my Christian friends, Jesus is the one who helps us to live with the questions. So often there are no answers and there is no way of knowing. At about this time, 81 years ago today, an atomic bomb codenamed Little Boy was dropped on the city of Hiroshima, decimating the city and killing 80,000 people. Within months, another 60,000 had died. Was there any way of their knowing? And even with the presence of 24/7 communication and social media, the reality is, for countless people in our world, including those in war-torn places, 200 million displaced people, and 40 million refugees in the world, there is no way of knowing from one moment to the next whether they will live or die, be safe or scared, have food and water or be thirsty and starve. In Australia, where we're blessed with relative safety, security and social support, although we don't have to face many of these fears, we live with the same not knowing. Whether walking on the footpath or driving, entering a new relationship or applying for a job, going for a skin check, waiting for results, test results, or facing surgery, we live every moment of every day not knowing a whole lot more than we know. And it is in this gap we often experience anxiety and suffering. And even if it were possible to know the time and circumstances of our death, would you want to know? I'm reminded of the scene in the famous movie Big Fish, when 3 boys looked into the eye of a witch who was purported to be able to foresee the way they would die. And whilst they lived under the dark cloud of knowing, our own mindful awareness of our mortality can enhance the presence and quality of our living here and now. So a spiritual care practitioner will help you to move from being scarred by life and scared of the future to entering a sacred space where you can be held and supported in the not knowing, in living with the questions and being open to the possibilities of a new future. Dying and death remain life's greatest mystery. Despite many claims and our best efforts, none of us really know. So while today there's so much we're dying to know, it will only be in our dying that we will come to know. And as a spiritual care practitioner, facilitator of spirited celebrations, and bereavement coach, we are one of many people here today who can journey with you in and through these life-to-death experiences, and importantly, help you to reflect on death and dying now, so enabling a present and full quality of living, as well as a present and full quality of dying. Thank you.
How beautiful and how rich. How good are our speakers. Thank you, Terry. Reminds me of a client I cared for about 15 years ago who had a very aggressive stomach cancer and was experiencing what we say 12 out of 10 pain. As nurses, we ask, what's your pain on a scale of 1 to 10? And she would often tell me it was 12 out of 10. And when we talked with her about things that were happening in her life, she told me that she had a sister that she hadn't spoken to for 20 years and that she was really sorry for the things that had driven them apart. And I said, is there any way we can get in touch with your sister? And she said, oh, the last known address we had for her was in Western Australia. Anyway, I got our social worker to track down her sister, and they were able to have a conversation on the phone. This took about a week. And the next time I went back and said, how's the pain today? Let's call her Beryl. She said, Kerri, it's a 5 out of 10. And so many of us know that saying. It's an old saying, make peace with God and your fellow man before we die. But as a nurse, I saw it there as holistic pain assessments. We talk about physical, spiritual, emotional, and social elements to us as human beings. We were doing everything we could physically possibly do for her with medication and every other service, but it was having peace with her sister, and she died a couple of days later at peace. So thank you, Terry, for what you bring and for introducing the spiritual element of the dying. Our last speaker for today and for this section, we'll break for morning tea, is Louise O'Neill, who's the CEO of Palliative Care Queensland, a leading charity and peak body in Australia. Louise started her career as an RN and has over 18 years of experience in the Australian Public Service, holding positions across health, disability and communications. Louise has a communications degree and executive masters in public administration, and most recently held the position of CEO of the Aged Care Workforce Industry Council. During her early years in the Department of Health, Louise was responsible for reviewing aspects of end-to-end aged care systems to inform future government policy. She played an integral role in designing the Living Longer, Living Better reforms of 2012, including addressing workforce pressures. Louise has a pragmatic, reform-focused vision for palliative care, as well as a strong understanding of the policy setting for palliative care in Queensland. She is dedicated to supporting palliative care professionals and volunteers and ensure that all Queenslanders access to quality care at the end of life. Please join me in welcoming Louise. Thank you.
I'm very sorry for that. I thought that was supposed to be a short bio and someone sent a long one. So there you go. It's lovely to be here, and gosh, what an act to follow all of the wonderful speakers that we've had today. I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands that we're meeting on, and pay my respects to elders past and present, and acknowledge the great connection to the country of Australia, across all the lands of Australia and the seas of our First Nations people. It is something that I think, as a non-Indigenous person I've got 3 daughters who are Mananjali girls, Barangarang, so they're from the edges of the Queensland-New South Wales border, and also their paternal families from near Bundaberg. It is incredibly important and strong, that connection to country, and I see it in my own children. It brought me back to Queensland after 30 years of being away. So just that those things are very real, that spiritual connection. And I think as a non-Indigenous Australian, I have my own spiritual connections, and I think that's very important that we look into ourselves and see what that is, and we express that in our advanced care directives, and we live it in our lives as we want to. So the work of Palliative Care Queensland, we are the peak advocacy body for palliative care. We support health professionals and people in the community. So we're a broad church, we support everyone. And we advocate to government and to other organisations to do better, to make sure that we can live well and we can die well, and that every part of our journey in between should be the best quality that we can have it, and should be our way, not their way. And I think that's a hard... It's a hard journey to be able to negotiate at this point in time, because health systems are really challenging. But one of the things that we've done in Palliative Care Queensland is put out our 5-year strategic plan. And we talk a lot in palliative care and in advanced health directives about what is our legacy. And one of the things I said to our board is, what is our legacy as an organisation and as people that run this organisation? So we have a legacy goal, and that is to grow hospice in Brisbane and across Queensland. And we have 10 hospices in Queensland. We have none that have beds in them in the Brisbane region. We have Karuna on the north that provides hospice in people's homes, but we don't have any beds. So, you know, there are very real chances that you are going to die in a hospital, which is not... 70% of people don't want to die there. So that's my legacy that I'd like to leave, is to actually change the way that governments and the community think about dying, and we should talk about it more. We talk about everything in our lives. We celebrate every moment of our lives. Gosh, my daughters are having babies, and it's like, whew, it's quite a journey, really. And yet, this one poignant moment of our life, this great penultimate moment where we bring everything together that we've ever done, we plan nothing, and we sit and we wait for it to come, and then we cry when the person has gone and think, gosh, if only we'd said those things, or we'd done something different. So what we want to do in Palliative Care Queensland is educate people and support all of these wonderful people who deliver services to support people through that journey when they are diagnosed with a palliative condition, but also to get every person 18 years or older to have an advanced health directive, or at the bare minimum have that enduring power of attorney. Because at least in having an enduring power of attorney, you let people know who it is that you want in your corner, who is going to act in the way that you would want things to happen for you, whether it's your money or your health. You've got to do all those things. So that's, I won't say any more because you've already had a great talk from Michelle and John. But the one thing I did want to talk to you about was our signature program today, and that is Ambulance Wish Queensland. And I think what Ambulance Wish Queensland does, apart from all the education and other things that we do, it brings to light in the community everything that palliative care is about. It brings to light to people in the community the fact that we should talk about death and dying and celebrate people's lives and build legacy and make memories and be authentic about who we are right to the very end, and allow people to then live the best life that they possibly can. So today, I believe there's a woman on the Sunshine Coast who's going out to see if she can see any whales out at Point Perry, and she's in one of our ambulances, and that's a wish. It's her wish. It's very unique. It's what she wants to do. We never direct a wish. Wishes are about the person. This coming Saturday night, we have 2 wishes happening at the Brisbane
Broncos-Dolphins game. That would not be my wish, but lots of people love that wish, and there are two of them. One is a child and one is an adult, and the adult's coming from the Sunshine Coast and the child is in Brisbane. So they will be there. And the beauty about that is it showcases compassionate communities as well, because the Brisbane Broncos and the Dolphins and the former Origin greats and the people in the crowd are all very accepting and welcoming and accommodating, and bring together this opportunity for people to go along and make their wish happen, make their wish come true. So that's what Ambulance Wish Queensland is all about. We've got ambulance in Toowoomba, Townsville, Brisbane, and on the Sunshine Coast. The Brisbane one and the Sunshine Coast one sort of service Redcliffe area, depending on where the ambulance are on a given day. And recently we've had some people from this region who've gone up to, Marissa went to the Glasshouse Mountains with her young family, and I think, no, I'm going to think it's John, but it's not John, it is Steve. Steve went out on the Redcliffe Pier with his family. So wishes are important. And someone else just last week actually went out and met with the Dolphins team. So again, a football one. I didn't get that. Football and giraffes. Giraffes are a thing. People love going to the zoo and meeting a giraffe. And I'm like, I don't know about a giraffe. I would rather have my Airedale Terriers, but that's okay. So I really commend to you Ambulance Wish, and you will see a video later on about that. It is something that we are very fortunate to partner with Queensland Ambulance Service to deliver, and it brings together clinicians and paramedics who are volunteers, over 200 of them, and other people in the community and ourselves, and that person and their family. And it creates that beautiful, compassionate community and fulfills legacy and end-of-life wishes. And Dennis's wish, he went from Caboolture Hospital home to a family property out northwest of Caboolture where he just wanted to have a campfire, and over 100 people turned up. And a campfire he had, and his family shot the video that you'll see and gifted it to us to promote why everyone should get to have a wish if they want one. And I just want to leave you with one. I'm not going to keep going on because there's so many things I could just rabbit on about, really. But I did want to leave you with just a little saying, because I think it's very relevant for Dying to Know Day. And it's by an author, poet called Flavia Whedon. I don't know if people know her. She wrote some beautiful things, but this one is my favourite. So some people come into our lives and they quickly go, and some people move our souls to dance. They awaken us to a new understanding with the passing whisper of their wisdom. And some people make the sky more beautiful to gaze upon. They stay in our lives for a while. They leave footprints on our hearts, and we are never, ever the same. So that is from Palliative Care Queensland, a gift to you.
Thank you, Louise. That was just beautiful. We might need to get the quote for all of us. I believe we're going to watch the video later. Is that right, Cameron, when we come back in? So thank you to each of our panellists for bringing yourselves and your expertise to this beautiful space. And we're now going to break for morning tea. Feel free, there's food thanks to Connections Catering, which is a social enterprise of the Redcliffe Area Youth Space. Please browse the stalls, and if you have questions, feel free to write one and drop it, is it okay to you, to Cornerstone, and invite you to come back, and then we'll put the questions to the panellists. How does that sound? All right, enjoy morning tea. Thank you.
Turn your magic on.